Hey guys, we are on the last part of Conversations with God, an Uncommon Dialogue by Neale Walsch. I know, it is an end. It is an end, and I'm actually going to take one more part and share with you guys a very powerful message that I got while reading it that I think is very important to understand, not just because of this book, but just in general and in life. So support the book, okay? Get it from your library if you need to, but I'm going to put a link to it in the description so you can do that, okay? So, in this, we are talking about the need to know, okay? Neale says, I suppose we all have an insatiable need to know. God replies, but you already know. I've just told you. Yet you don't want to know the truth. You want to know the truth as you understand it. This is the greatest barrier to your enlightenment. You think you already know the truth. You think you already understand how it is. So you agree with everything you see or hear or read that falls into the paradigm of your understanding and reject everything which does not. And you call this learning. This you call being open to teachings. Alas, you can never be open to teaching so long as you are closed to everything save your own truth. Thus, this very book be called blasphemy, the work of the devil by some. So, I have built a career upon helping people to break their paradigms. Now, there are three ways in which we actually start to create these belief systems, and it's, through your family, through society, or through experiences. And we're often looking for ways to validate the way that we view the world, right? So if you believe that being married is, what a woman is supposed to do, you're going to look for positive examples where that happens. And then you see a woman who is happy, who is single, and you think, she must be fucking miserable. Like, she must absolutely be miserable, because the only way you can be happy is if you're married. There are other ways like that, like, I know my parents, when I grew up, I saw them working 10, 12-hour days because, they were trying to build their businesses. And so to me, working 10, 12 hours a day is a marker of somebody who is highly successful, because they became very successful. Like, that's how you become successful. You grind until you can't grind anymore, right? Even holidays, even vacations. I know that they were on the phone while we were away in other countries, even on the weekends, even at nighttime, that they created this paradigm for me that was like, you have to work some insane hours in order to be able to create a life that's sustainable. The other thing is, seeing people who are highly educated. I have doctors in the family, lawyers in the family, people with MBAs, masters, that are very successful. And again, that was another piece of information that I carried with me my entire life, that you have to go to school. So I wound up going to college for engineering and got my master's in business and became a rocket scientist and thought, yeah, this is how you become successful because the formula works, right? But what ultimately it's devoid of is the spirit, the soul, being true to who you are. Like, maybe I was never meant to go to school for engineering. Maybe I was never meant to get a master's. Maybe I was always supposed to be a yoga teacher from the time I turned 15. I don't fucking know. What I'm saying is that all of this information that we get throughout our life is informing how we view the world. And when we talk about, we're learning and we're open to new experiences, are we really open to new experiences that test the boundaries of what we are learning? So right now, I'm learning about Kabbalah, and my teacher will say something that I will just be like, yeah, that's ridiculous. And I'm like, okay, well, why is that ridiculous? Why does that sound like impossible? What is it about that framework that does not resonate with me? Why am I rejecting it? And I have to explore that. Now, ultimately, maybe I do come to accept it. Maybe I say, yeah, no, I just do not accept that. Okay, that's fine. I'm not saying that you have to adopt every single thing, but if you do not examine why you're outright rejecting new ideas, then you're going to be staying stuck in the same lane all the time. So when somebody says to you, hey, this is what you said, we can look at it this way too, and you're not open to it, it's time to do some self-reflection. Like, okay, well, why am I not open to that? What would it, like, let's play devil's advocate and say, okay, it is true. How can I verify that that's true? And I recently gave a talk where it was like, I was telling people, like, we're so worried about proving ourselves right to feed our own ego, to keep up the walls of our self-limiting beliefs. We never take the time to prove ourselves wrong. We never take the time to look at the flip side and say, okay, maybe I am wrong. Maybe I'm limiting myself and my beliefs because I haven't explored this other way of thinking about it. And when you start to do that, when you start to explore the other side of Conversations with God, with the autobiography of a yogi, or Untethered Soul, when you start to expand your mind and say, what if this is true? What if this is possible? What does that mean for me? What does that mean for the way I view the world? What does that mean for the possibilities in my life? When you actually challenge the way you think, you start to get on a whole other wavelength and a whole other life. Here's a for example that was recent, okay? My husband was sitting there and saying, I hate being stood up. He was saying this wholeheartedly. He felt really bad that somebody was standing him up. He was like, I absolutely hate. And I was thinking to myself, I've been with my husband 10 years and like he stood me up a couple of times. And to me, I wanted to be like, yeah, like that fucking sucks when somebody stands you up. Like, of course, remember that time you did that to me? Remember that time like that was where I wanted to go. I wanted to see, and I just said, let me take a second and explore why is it that I now want to prove him wrong and prove that, he's also a perpetrator of standing people up, that he's also a person, like he's being a hypocrite. Like, why is it that I wanted to do this? And so I started doing some journaling. I started writing about the instances that had happened, and I felt unseen, I felt unheard, and I thought, wow, it does really suck when somebody stands you up. But those times I told him, hey, this really hurt my feelings, and he was oblivious to it happening. And so, time goes by, I talk to my husband and I say, hey, I was thinking about what you were saying and I agree with you. It is very painful when somebody stands you up. Well, maybe they just don't know they're standing you up. Maybe they didn't see how important it was to you. And that conversation went so much better than me just dumping on my husband. I provided an opportunity for connection rather than starting a petty, bickering argument when my husband was in pain. So, yes, I could have validated my feelings. Yes, I could have supported, well, hey, I have all this evidence that you do it too, so shut the fuck up. I wouldn't say that to my husband, but you know what I mean? Like, I could obviously spend the time to look at it one way, or I can reframe it and use it for a vehicle for good, for love, joy, compassion, and all that wonderful stuff that happened. So that is it for this episode, guys. I don't know what book is next. I haven't even started reading. I'm actually going on vacation next week. I'm not even going to think about anything, but I promise you it's going to be a beautiful one. I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to see what falls in my lap and see what new insights I have for you guys. But for now, this is the last one of Conversations with God. I'm going to put the link in the description, so if you guys want to support the book, go ahead. Remember, this is a trilogy. I'm not going to continue on with the trilogy because I think this was all that called to me. book number 2 and 3 have not called to me. So this is where I'm at, and this is where I'm going to stay. Now, you know what? Maybe after prayer, the second book does come in and it's like, hey, this is what we're doing. But I don't feel like that right now. So because it's not really pulling me, I'm not going to promise that that's what it's going to be. But, you know, if that's what you guys want to do, you guys should do it. And I'm also going to put a link to my book, Writing for My Life, which is about journaling, how and why, where, who. And, you know, journaling, prayer, and meditation have been crucial to my own transformation. And I hope that it can bring a little bit of wisdom to you guys. I'm going to put a link to my podcast. So if you want more Andy, there's a plenty of me over there. Lots of insights, lots of mindset stuff. And with that, I'll let you guys go. Bye.